Welcome back. We get all this Season 10 information, including vast patch notes with all the buffs and nerfs. A look at chaos perks that will drastically change how most of the builds work in Season 10. Which means it's time for Season 10 meta predictions. Who's going to be dominating? Is Hydra Mommy still good? Do we have the Necromancer rising? What about Spiritborn? Since Spiritborn is currently the #1 with pit 139 cleared. And everyone has been playing Thorn's Spiritborn with the Belzon's max lateral new pants, the aspect of Plane's power to make these circles that is double dipping within the Jaguar Spirit Hall for insane damage. Including some weird one hit on the boss. Yep, you saw that right. When ads are spawning and you kill them, seems a bit out of the ordinary. Because the primary Jaguar Spirit Hall does not benefit any more from the aspect of Plane's power. In my case, it was only 19% per stacks of ferocity, and I had like 12, 14 stacks. This number could go way higher, so it's an insane amount of damage boost that made the Jack Spirit Hall completely go off the charts. However, we have two chaos perks that could help here. A Beast Cornered. For every 10% of your life you're missing, you gain 20% increased damage and 5% damage reduction. Spending resource drains a percentage of your life and refunds the resource. This cannot reduce you below 10% life. 90% life lost, 180% bonus damage, and also tons of damage reduction. If you then play this together with Marred Guard, you can no longer heal above 50% life. We're anyways at 10% life. You gain 10% maximum elemental resistance, 40% armor, and 100% increased barrier and fortified generation. This technically could help the Jaguar Spirit Hall to not completely fall off with the minus of missing out on the aspect of Plane's power. That being said, I think the Evade Spiritborn, or the new Evade Spiritborn, should be something amazing. Right now, if you're using the Eagle power, it says casting an Eagle skill grants you Storm Feathers movement speed bonus, and when you evade, you fling out these Storm Feathers. That was a bit annoying because in order to play this, it was like dashing around and evading. Now the actual primary hall says casting an Eagle skill or evading shoots out Storm Feathers. Which means we can make all skills Eagle skills. And then use whatever skill we feel like, Crushing Hands, Quill Volley, Rake, or Stinger, to shoot out copious amounts of Storm Feathers, and maybe get the damage that we're looking for. What about our Druid? And we do actually have a couple of builds here. We get the good Pulverized Poison Puddled Splasher Druid, where the Poison Puddles did not actually work 100% of the times as they should, therefore anyways bug fixes in that regard, making it more potent than ever. And that Druid could as well play the Beast Cornered for the 180% bonus damage. Or use Brawn over Brains, gain the following: 200% maximum life, 100% healing received, and 100% more overpowered damage. Sure, your maximum resistances are reduced by 25%, your damage reduction from armor is kept at 60, but since the Poison Puddle Splasher goes around and doesn't really get hit by enemies, it might be worth it. Bit squishier, but vastly more damage. And then you get the Flesh Render Druid, which is doing trillions of damage by spamming your defensive skills and just going vop, 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 absolutely crazy. And that Flesh Render get tremendously buffed, because it now says Flesh Render can trigger from autocast skills. Right now it triggers whenever you use a defensive skill. Then boom, you get that big explosion that can do up to trillions of damage. Reset the cooldowns, do it again. And with the change now being able to trigger from autocast skills, for example, a rune, you can use the Quay rune to use your Bulwark from the Druid. That would trigger the Flesh Render for even more damage. And that's not everything, because Druid is getting their very specific own chaos power, called Wild Transformation. Shapeshifting into a new form uses a free skill and grants an additional bonus for 5 seconds. Werewolf uses Bloodhowl for more critical strike damage, and you're doing overpower critical strikes. Werebear uses Debilitating Roar for 20% damage reduction, and Human uses Cyclone Armor for 20% attack speed. Which means whenever you use Bulwark or another skill to then swap the form and then swap the form back, you're going to cast a bonus skill that also triggers Flesh Render again. I wonder if Flesh Render has like an eternal cooldown that you can't override, so there's a limit to how much we could go crazy, but it's certainly going to add bonus damage to the fray. And since Druid will be absolutely crazy this season, there's also a companion one. We get here a pit 116 clear, with the companion Druid having ginormous wolves and ravens going on, and then using some of the werewolf skills. Not even sure how intricate it works right now. I think it's shooting out rabies, right? That build is getting so much stronger. First and foremost, you have a unique power that says your companion skills are altered to also be core skills. That means if you have gloves that give you bonus core skill ranks, your companion skills profit from this. And your companions grow in size and gain 60% summon damage on top. Plus, Druid is getting a new unique hands. They're called the Kilt of Blackwing. More life, ranks to Raven, Raven cooldown, and Ravens do double damage. Ravens deal 100% increased damage, and shapeshifting into a different form or activating a companion skill summons a Raven that attacks nearby enemies. Just spamming our skill, just doing our stuff, just swapping our forms. Summoning a Raven has a chance to call forth an unkindness for 10 seconds, whatever that means, increasing the number of Ravens summoned to 3 for the duration. I assume you're going to spam, summon that unkindness, and then whenever you swap forms or use a companion skill, it's now 3 bonus Ravens attacking things. I imagine a huge flock of Ravens just descending on the enemy, plus the Druid power, plus the core skill ranks, plus the more ranks to Ravens. Oh boy. And how would it look for the Sorcerer that has been Hydra, Hydra, Hydra? Just simply Hydra everywhere. Is that still going to be good? Technically, yes, and actually even better than ever before. For the Hydrosaur, you did need the Ophidian Iris, and that especially with a very good roll on that 100%. Season 10 is going to have Chaos Uniques though. Chaos Uniques are an existing unique in a different slot, so your Banished Lord's Talisman can also roll as a glove, with the same powers, but 20% stronger. So instead of 100% damage for every Hydra head, another 20% on top. Which means the Ophidian Iris could roll at whatever you want, or the Fractured Winter Glass. And the Fractured Winter Glass says ranks to Conjuration Mastery. That's obviously insane for Hydras, but also casting a Frozen Orb has a chance to spawn random Conjuration, and your Conjurations have a chance to launch Frozen Orbs. Which means if the Ophidian Iris is now on my gloves, and I can put the Fractured Winter Glass on, or I keep the Ophidian Iris here and then have the Fractured Winter Glass be a glove, pants, or whatsoever, I get the best of both worlds. The big problem with Hydra though is twofold. They did nerf the Serpentine aspect. Damage is now reduced from 1.5% to 0.5%. So 300 mana doesn't give you, on a 200 weapon, 900% damage bonus anymore. That's vastly less. And on top of that, they destroyed the item affix Lucky Hit to restore primary resource. That used to be a percentage, so Lucky Hit to restore 50% primary resource. That could fill up your resource all the way. So cast Hydra, soak empty your mana, boom, full resource. Cast Hydra, boom, full, and so on. Now it only says 7 to 10 primary resource being restored. That's kinda awful. Because Sorg is getting this amazing chaos perk called Mana Shield. You have 99% reduced maximum life, but any damage you would take is dealt to your mana before your life. If you have not taken damage in the last 4 seconds, your mana regeneration is increased by 5,000% and you gain 400% increased maximum mana, and each point of intelligence increases your maximum mana by 1. I mean, you'll have 3,000 intelligence later on, 3,000 intelligence, so you can get a lot of maximum mana with that. And that is being taken before life. And with the Lucky Hit chance to restore mana, that would be insane. So I wonder if the only reason they destroyed that one is because of this mana shield thingy and literally punished everyone else. Now, they might have lowered the damage of Hydra, but charged bolts are actually being buffed left, right, and center. There's so many references to charged bolts in the patch notes. It's crazy. Like, they literally, they want you to play some kind of charged bolt, chain lightning, crackling energy, whatsoever, shamambo bambo. They've even been boosting the Oaken's Catalyst and the String of the Stormhorn again. I guess they want you to play lightning and forget about Hydrosorg at this point. Let's throw an eye over on the Necromancer. The number 1 leading build is still Bloodwave. And that actually gets followed up by the Blight Necro, which goes for trillions of stacking, super blight crit, super blight crit, and so ever. It's kind of nice. And for the Bloodwave, we did have the Brawn over Brains. 100% increased overpower damage. Don't mind if I do. The Bloodwave Necro usually always has barrier. You're always feeling good. You're always kind of nicely saved up. So getting the 100% overpower damage, absolutely elite. Hell, if you wanted to, you could turn your core skills into ultimates, and you could turn your base ultimate skills into core skills. They have no more cooldown but cost essence now, so screw the cooldown reduction. You just have to take care of essence, and then you could actually do like use the Bloodwave even earlier. The crazier part will be the Blight Necro though. Since you can still play the Eben Pierce Amulet with the Reaper's Pursuit, to get yourself 34% bonus damage per darkness skill. And well, I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 darkness skills. And that damage is boosted by the Wither node. It used to be only working for damage over time effects. Now it says your shadow damage has a 20% chance to deal 300% bonus damage. And you're already having your Shadow Blight key passive get 450% bonus damage. And now it could go super awesome up with a stacking blighted aspect that provides another 500% bonus, 450%, and then that whole could go 300% bonus up. While you're using your chaos perks to have your corpse explosions create chaotic bursts that do shadow damage, which can critical strike and get the bonus damage from the Wither node. While Lucky Hit Chance will make more chaotic bursts around you that reduce cooldowns. And with the Chaos Unleashed unique power, we have our chaotic burst do another 100% bonus damage. And it's always going to be shadow damage. And it's always had a chance to then do that 300% bonus damage on top. Yeah, let's go. What about Barbarian and Rogue? With Rogue, we have Twisting Blade sitting at the tippity top. Just going around, poisoning enemies, whirly-twirly blades. Kind of good, kind of fun. People seem to like it. And for some reason, that made them reduce the Twisting Blades damage for the standard one, and then increase the enhanced Twisting Blades damage slightly. You know, let's make that weaker. And Rogue's Chaos perks also don't look too crazy. You get Unpredictable Alchemy, Imbuements flow wildly, imbuing every base skill cast with a random imbuement. Imbued skills deal 40% increased damage. Okay, 40% increased damage is a nice thing. Then you have Innovated Strikes. You no longer passively generate energy, but you gain the following. Chance for Twisting Blades to hit twice, chance for Flurry to deal double damage, chance for Barrage. That's actually cool that you could just get the chance to hit twice like that. And then use your tempers for something else, potentially. You can throw out chaotic grenades, and it feels like they want you to do a chaotic burst grenade build. And also, we get a 15-meter movement bonus damage that actually stacks up, making Dens of Knives maybe finally something you can use. Or you just keep running around with your Twisting Blades tippity top. Rogue is also getting a new unique item that's going to introduce a reload mechanic, the Orphan Maker. Now, basic and core skills that use this weapon reload, and reload skills deal 300% bonus damage, and the second reload skill deals twice the bonus, so 600% bonus damage. Reload skills will have a slight delay before they're being cast again, and it being affected by your attack speed bonus. So the more attack speed you have, the faster they reload, and then the more you can actually spam. That's probably meant to be your playstyle for that season, potentially leading for insane damages. Especially with the chaotic power called Alternating Alterations. Casting a core skill empowers your next non-channel cast of a different core skill, refunding resource costs and dealing 30% increased damage. But that's only 30% increased damage. Sure, you could also play a Beast Cornered on a Tibbity-Tobbity because Rogue always has Barrier up, and you then being at 10% life doesn't really matter because you have the full barrier to kind of protect you. And then if you actually played Marred Guard, you get even more barrier to really make sure that you always have enough barrier. That being said, the things I've seen on Rogue don't seem to be too exciting, especially because they fixed Azure Wrath. Azure Wrath used to get more damage the more attack speed you have, but now fix an issue where lucky hit affixes for applying bonus damage, such as from Azure Wrath, grant additional damage scaling with attack speed. Any lucky hit chance to deal damage item that get more damage from attack speed doesn't work anymore. They ruined a whole style of builds, which is really sad. And I mean, good riddance, Rogue. That was the only way how you actually had some power last season. Last but not least, Barbarian. We have had Mighty Throw now in the end be something quite exciting, and it actually plays 1, 2, 3 offensive skills and uses them. Why do I keep mentioning 1, 2, 3 skills? Has there any relevance to that? Yes, absolutely. Because we're getting a new unique item that could also be a Chaos Armor and land on your pants or your boots, for example. And that new item is called the Saber of Segal. Gives you damage, strength, fist damage, core skills, and warpath. And it says you gain 5% increased damage for each damaging skill you have equipped. Good, that would be 3 skills, 15% damage. An additional 10% for 15 seconds when each of those skills is used. Now this sounds kind of weird because it says when each of those skills is used. Does that mean I have to use all the skills in the bar to get the 10% damage? Or do I get 10% damage each time I use one? So if I use then my Whirlwind, I get 10%. If I then use my Hammer of the Ancient, I get another 10%. If I then use the next one, do I get another 10%? That would potentially lead to provide some damage gain on a build that is already powerful. But Barbarian also gets a nice update to the expertise because remove the requirement to kill an enemy to get 30% increased bleed damage with a two-handed sword expertise. So now we can get more bleed damage than ever. And the one-turn rupture aspect is being changed. It used to not remove bleeding damage from enemies and can only occur once every 3 to 10 seconds. But now it says double your rupture skewer radius for a bigger explosion, and all bleed durations are increased by 60%. Together with a Barbarian unique power, you could increase bleed duration anyways by another 200%, and you get another 100% more damage, and more overpowered chance, and more max. Like, oh wow. It does say if you only have one arsenal weapon type equipped, gain the following. But can we do like a super long time bleed duration kind of build? Where bleed finally will be the whole life bar of the enemy will be bleed, and then it goes like, or you make like the super rupture uber boober explosion that then super overpower crits. The possibilities seem fun. Now, after all this said, who's really going to be dominating? I feel like Sorcerer and Lightning should definitely be great, especially with the potential of having your Fractured Winterglass together with the Ophidian Iris, or some other combinations of these items. It seems really nasty for Sorc to see what there is possible. Druid should definitely be going crazy, and the main reason is simple. Because the Rotting Lightbringer, the weapon that Druid actually used, the 200 weapon, is also Chaos Armor. That means the Rotten Lightbringer could be a chest piece. It could be a pair of boots. It could be your pair of pants. Yes, and then you can play a two-handed weapon with good stats, with good tempers, and on top of that, with another aspect being maximum super boosted. For Spiritborn, it's hard to say if they will now be good or bad, but I definitely finally want to play an Eagle Spiritborn because I can actually spam my skills and I don't have to evade spam anymore. That's going to bring a new fun playstyle. And then the Necromancer. I feel like Necro, oh man, that shadow damage looks very promising and juicy. The Wither could turn out really good and lead to some trillion damage hits down the line, as we have been doing multi-hundred billions already with the build, and now we get another 300% bonus damage. Like, we've already been doing 200-300 billion. And like, yeah, 20% chance that 300 billion hit gets another 300% on top. Seems pretty mad. I'm really looking forward to it. What are your predictions? Who do you think will be dominating the leaderboards? Who do you think will be leading the pack? We should definitely have tons of builds viable, and we will experiment with everything on the PDR. Here's more information on Season 10. Have a great day, and see you in Sanctuary.